Welcome to the Contractor Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Phillips. This show exists to help small business owners like you escape the tyranny of contractor prison and enter the bliss of contractor freedom so you can have the time, money, and freedom to live your life with purpose beyond your business. As a certified human behavior consultant in DISC personality styles and motivators, I'll be sharing with you skills for life, love, leadership, and business. I'll also be connecting you with experts that can help you scale your business and your life. So if you want to build the business and life of your dreams, then you are in the right place. Let's go. Hello, contractors. Jason Phillips here, and I have a special guest with us today, Mr. Will Reyes from Battleborn Painting in Reno, Nevada. And welcome, Will.
Hey, buddy. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So I guess you're not currently in Reno, right? Looks like you're remote.
I am. I'm actually in Guadalajara, Mexico, hanging out with some friends and having a good time, and just taking a little R&R, if you will.
Oh, so I see you're hanging out for a living these days, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to be like Jason Phillips. You might know the guy.
Oh, no. Well, hey, man, I'm so glad we're getting to connect. This is long overdue, you and I, and I'm super excited to have you on today. And hey, by the way, you're going to be speaking at the upcoming Contractor Freedom Summit. And we I could touch on that. Yeah, excited for that. Hey, Will, for those that don't know you, tell just a little bit about your company and give us the high level, the 30,000 foot overview.
Yeah, my name is Will Reyes. Like Jason said, I own Battleborn Painting, but we don't just paint. We do narrative things. A lot of things we learn the hard way, but we do interior, exterior painting, which a lot of you probably do. We have a concrete coatings division where we coat concrete with things like raw floors, polishes, epoxies, polyureas, things of that nature. We have a cabinet division that's separated from the painting division, so they just do cabinets all day long. And we have a gutter division that's going into year 2 that we really like. That's been doing well for us. And then we started a nano coatings business last year that we had to put on hold, but this year we're actually taking off with it, and it's actually yielding some pretty good results. We're really happy with it.
Wow, man. Congratulations. It sounds like you've got a lot of irons in the fire.
3 years ago, that would have been a mess. Fast forward to today, it's not as hard as I was making it to be, if you will.
Not yet. I get it. Sometimes we've got to just jump in and figure it out. Take a leap of faith, right?
I am the absolute epitome of learning the hard way.
I get it. Yeah, me too. So if you guys haven't met Will in person, I met Will a number of years ago, and when we've just really developed a great friendship. And at first glance, Will's this huge, ominous, bearded, tattooed, rough, curly guy. But one of the things I've learned about Will, and I really appreciate about you, Will, is man, you have a huge heart. You absolutely have a huge heart, and you're a good friend, and you're running a good business out there. Interesting story for our viewers and listeners here. Will's in Reno. I'm from Dallas. Well, I was out in Northern California bringing my son home from a Bible school out there. And so we've got his Jeep, and we picked up some mountain bikes, and we've got those strapped to the back of the Jeep, and we're going to head back through Colorado and Utah and Colorado and hit a bunch of famous mountain biking trails. Well, the time of year we got to checking, the snow hadn't melted on certain ones. So we went our secondary route. We had 2 routes we were going to go depending on what the snow was like. So we make a decision. We start going the secondary route. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm down here not too far from Will. Then my phone rings while I'm out in the middle of nowhere in California. And Will's like, hey, buddy, what's up? And I'm like, well, not too much, man. We're just headed up on such and such. He's like, dude, that's like 20 miles from my house or from my business. So we popped on into Reno there and got to see your shop, which, honestly, your shop is the first shop that I've ever visited.
I didn't know that. I'm honored. So, I'm honored and a little embarrassed because it was messy. It's a lot better now. But yes.
I tell you, I was super impressed because you guys have all these different stages. You have a place for the craftsmen to work there and prep the cabinets, do the cabinets offsite and all that. And I was just really impressed with the operation that you've got going there.
Thanks. It's a work in progress. When you got it, it was really rough. But since then, we've cleaned it up a bunch. We've decorated, made it look a little more hospitable. It's like a little piece at a time. Fast forward today, it looks great compared to what it was then. But thank you for not judging too harshly, because it was a really rough warehouse in a box of a shell.
Well, you've been to our old place too. One of the right as I walked in the front door, I'm greeted with right in the floor coating the Battleborn logo, and I'm like, I was so jealous at that moment. That was super cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was the guy that worked for us that put that down there. It says Battleborn Painting, and it's a huge American flag on the ground that's done in a mixture of polyurea, epoxies, and a little acid to disperse, and it was just like this whole wash. It looks pretty cool. That took 48 hours. A guy named Chris Knott did that for us. He was a great kid. He no longer works with us right now. He lives in Vegas, but it was a fun project, man. It really was, and it gets so many head turns. We're really proud to be, part of the area, and, born and raised in Nevada. And obviously we're proud patriots as well to have the American flag sit in the ground.
nice. Well, one of the things that I say a lot of, pretty much every contractor deals with when they start growing, they've got a team of people, and it's hard to boil things down to simplicity. And I think a
Agreed.
while back, didn't you implement the EOS system?
Right. So unbeknownst to me, we were kind of doing it in a very rudimentary style. But then we went to the PCA, which if you're not a member, I highly suggest you go. Now, you could be like me in the beginning, where it was like, what am I going to learn? Who are these people? I'm going to go for a trip. That sounds fun. And maybe I'll meet somebody cool, or I want to go for the free drinks or whatever, like I was in the beginning. And then you meet some people and you develop some relationships, and you're like, wow, these people really care. So we went to the PCA this last February. Chris Elliott with On It Painting, shout out to him. He's a good dude. He put on a class that explained traction at EOS. And, Chris and I were there, and we looked at each other. We're like, well, we're doing a lot of that. We should probably get into that. And so since then, we've implemented it. It's only taking things a lot faster to where we want to be in our end goal. So it really put things in perspective for us. So highly recommended. If you haven't done it, look into traction at EOS. Reach out. You can reach out to me. Chris Elliott's class is on the PCA website. You should definitely check it out if you're interested about it. I highly recommend it. And anybody else that say like our host here, you is a good person to reach out and say, hey, do you think this would be a good fit for me and mine? Along with that, we got a really great recommendation to be doing personality profiles, which I think is key in running a business, because this isn't the 70s, this isn't the 80s, it's not the 90s anymore. You just can't have one rule for everybody. You can't rule with an iron fist and be like, this is it, this is how it's going to run. The days are gone. So it's really key to understand how each person works and how to talk to that person and communicate to that person. It doesn't make you less of a boss. It actually makes you a better boss. That way you can understand, like, oh, this is how this person receives information. So it was really good for us to take that advice and run with it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Definitely transformational in my business, in my entire life. Of course, you guys hear me say that. You guys hear me say that all the time. But to hear from you as well is valuable. And one of the things is, most contractors, business owners, entrepreneurs, however you want to refer to yourself, are smart people, but you don't know what you don't know. And then when, somehow you meet someone or you turn over a new rock and you learn new information, you're like, oh, wow, how did I go all this time without this new information?
Yeah. And if you're hard-headed, me that likes to learn a hard lesson, I've heard about EOS and traction for the last 5 years. I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. And then it took one class, Chris Elliott, for me to understand, like, oh, that's really is for us. Well, I should really look into that.
And it's the thing about the EOS is none of it's rocket science. It's all
everything you
very
already
basic.
know.
But
Yeah,
the
everything you
key
already know
is helping get every member of your team on the same page. That's when the magic happens. And
Agreed.
that's wonderful. So, hey, weren't you reading that book called 4 Disciplines of Execution?
Yeah. So we went through the EOS, the traction books, which I highly recommend. And then we got turned on to the 4 Disciplines, which at first is a really rough read. But after you hit chapter 3, it really takes off. and it does a good job of dovetailing into traction and EOS. You see a lot of similarities, a lot of same speak, one thing they call this, one thing they call that, virtually the same. But I think what the 4 disciplines does, and a really good job of it, narrows in on the things that EOS just kind of touch upon. They really get into it, they really dig deep into it, and really make you think like, is this how I want to run my business? Is this how I want to treat my team? Do I really want to be, acting this way? A lot of times I think as entrepreneurs and as business owners, people look to us to have all the answers, and we get swept up into that really fast and really quick of like, yeah, do this, or no, don't do that. But really, you shouldn't be doing a lot of that because it takes up too much time, and you dedicate these jobs or delegate out these jobs to your leadership team. And they really need to be doing that. But if you create the crutch for them to lean on every time, they're going to lean on you every time. So I think that 4 disciplines does a real good job of like teaching you as at the top, the leader or the boss or the owner or whatever you want to call yourself. It really does a good job of like, hey, you need to delegate these things out and trust your team because you put them there for a reason. And also, as a leader, when you're reading that, and you're reading it with your team is reading it going, hey, I really need to take responsibility of this role. And wow, my boss, my leader, the owner is really trusting me with this. So it really is upon me to take this and own this task and move along with it. We did the training, we went through it. And as we were reading the 4 disciplines, I could see the people in the room every week, their mindset start to change of like, I would get a call every day to, now it's not even once a week. And now it's a report in like, hey, I got this. I'm on task. Here's what we can do. Like, yeah, I'm going good. And then I'll be like, does anybody need help? No, we got it. Like, are you sure? Because now I'm at the point like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because, when you've done it one way so long, and I don't want to say as a dictator, but you're in that position of doing all the decision making and, saying the yes, saying the no, and not giving out the responsibility or the authority. Now I'm like, well, shit. Are you guys sure you don't need me for nothing? And then, when they go, no, we're good, we got this. And then they come in with a report and I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, this looks great. And then you almost feel like a sense of like, well, gosh, they don't need me anymore. But then you're like, well, I'm glad they don't need me more. Now I can dedicate my time into doing something else. And as an owner, as a boss, as a leader, as the dictator, however you want to, the overlord, however you want to call yourself in your business, whatever comical name you want to give yourself. Now you can focus on things that you didn't think were possible, which is like adding another trade to your business or adding another service. So now those things become a lot easier for you. And these are some of the things that we'll talk about in the summit in October. I don't want to get too deep into it, but these are just some of the gems that I think those 3 books really do a good job in helping you become a better leader and a better employee as well too. I don't like to refer to myself as people's bosses. I got one guy that works for me. You probably don't like that term either. And, because at the end of the day, we all work for the company.
That's right.
Everybody's replaceable, and we all collect a paycheck. So, I'm just a coworker. So, and my position is a little different from a lot of people, but, like my guys, when they need help, they'll call me up and be like, hey boss, you want to come paint today? I'll be like, okay, cool. Let's go paint. And when I get to the site, I don't even ask. All right, I don't come over. I don't take over. What's going on? I just get on site and go, where do you want me? And they go, okay, go tape off the concrete. And I go, okay. Where do you want me at? You want me in the highest ladder in the sunny side? Okay. And, and a lot of times they'll do it just to mess with me, and they know I'll just get up there and go. And when I get it done, I come back down and they go, all right, let's go to the shady side. But, we're at the point where they all appreciate me just getting in there and working with them and not, trying to be the guy that wants to have all the answers and to tell everyone what to do at every little step, because it gets taxing and there's just no way somebody can do that. There's just not enough hours in the day.
Back to the book, just for a question, quick moment. People that have gone through EOS want to create their scorecard and their measures or their KPIs. Well, a lot of people struggle with what exactly to measure. And so they might be measuring things that really don't matter and not measuring the most important things. And that's one of the things that helped me train my managers on was measuring things that are predictive. So Again, to use just a simple illustration that we all know, well, if you want to, let's say, lose weight, well, let's say I want to lose 5 pounds, then we need to somehow have a net calorie loss. So we need to measure our calories out and our calories in. And
Yeah,
so measuring, like, for instance, calories in, like literally logging every meal and coming in within your calorie goal is predictive of what's eventually going to happen when you step on the scale. And then, so taking that same
absolutely.
concept and applying it to your business, whether it's sales, profits, leads, production, culture, all of those things. And I feel like that book can help people really grasp an understanding of, hey, here's how I make quality measures for the key numbers in my business.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And just to touch on what you were just saying there, I was one of the people that was like keeping track of stuff that didn't matter because I thought, well, I need to know this. And then, you start to look at it and go, well, why the hell do I need to know that? That's where it's good to reach out to a community of painters like yourself, because you're the one that showed us the roadmap. And we took it and go, okay, we see what Jason's doing, but here's what's going to work best for us. So we just took that as a rough, outline for us, and then adjusted it to the point where we're like, okay, this is the best for us. This is what's going to work for us. And since we did that, we're like, okay. And then we still work on it to this day. We're like, okay, we want a little this, we want a little that. Okay, we got all this information right here. Now we want a little more information right there. You're absolutely right. You got to, it's like you said, it's fitness. You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So writing it down is always the best way. You're touching on that. If you want to lose 5 pounds, that's also in the book. Like you said, that's the lead and the lag time. That's in, the 4 disciplines, which was one of the prime examples of like where EOS and traction doesn't dive into it as deep as that book does. And I really appreciate that. And I would say that right there, that chapter was the aha chapter reading that book, because the first 2 chapters almost read like a commercial, like buy our stuff. And throughout the chapters, you see that and you just kind of just blow past it. Or you can buy into it. It could help you. Who knows? I'm not dissing anybody or trying to come down on anybody. It's like, well, hey, I want to buy into this. Go for it. You can't hurt you. You can only learn from it. And if you don't like it, you move on to the next. But for us, we have a system where we read the information, we absorb it and go, hey, this is really valuable to us. And we like that it explains, like the lead and the lag explains, like, well, you don't know where you're going if you can't even see where you've been. You can kind of, I remember, I think it was like this, or we did good. And I was one of those guys like, oh, no, our numbers are about this. And, we did about this. And the year end will tell me everything. But, as I've talked to people and mentors and people, they're like, no, you need to know that number on a weekly, if not the daily, for some people.
Yeah.
I get that number weekly. As of this past Monday, we decided as a group, actually, you know what? We kind of want that number on a daily, just to have it on the daily so we can have a good pulse on it. We'll reconcile at the end of the week, because that number is not a true number, because you can have 100 bids out and then if nobody signs at the end of the week, it shows 0. But, first day into the next week, 50% can sign, and all of a sudden that number changes. So, I want that number daily, so it kind of gives us an information and a hand on the pulse, of really like, where's your company going? What adjustments do you have to make? So I really like that. That book is pivotal in my opinion. If you read EOS and traction, you'll probably be okay, but you would really get a better leg up if you put in that book 4 disciplines.
I totally agree. I recently talked to a contractor. He said, man, I don't have any work for the guys tomorrow. Like, oh, are you just discovering this? Are you just discovering this? So you don't have any work for tomorrow. Well,
Yeah.
that means, was it the sales? Did your sales process break? Were the leads down? What was it? And so, one of the things that I'm a proponent of measuring, of course, is the whole funnel. Like, work it backwards. Here's how much profit we want to make for the year. So this is how much dollars in sales we need to make that profit. Here's our average sale is, a certain amount. So we need, this many sales for the year. Well, in order to make that many sales, we need X amount of appointments. And to get X amount of appointments, we need a certain amount of leads. So that's the basic funnel. But when they say know your numbers, those are some key numbers to know. One of the other things that we track is how much work do we have, what we call in our backlog, work that is sold, contracted, has a deposit, but is not on the schedule yet. We only schedule 7 days out, or rolling 7 days. And so if it's not on the schedule, we call it backlog. And we measure, is that backlog getting too small? Is it getting too big? So regardless if leads are down or sales are down, whatever, up or down, as long as we keep that backlog within the upper and lower limits of where we want it, okay, everything else can be a little volatile, but I don't want there to ever come a day when we don't have a job for tomorrow for the crew.
Yeah.
Make sense?
100%. I agree with that. And I've had contractors have the same conversation. Like, hey man, how's, we I do a weekly call with a few other contractors, some good guys that are just, amazing contractors, great painters, and they're like me, like, hey, let's have a call once a week and let's just keep each other in check, like, hey, is everything okay? And I'll get sometimes, I'll get these guys, I'll get them on call. I'm like, oh, it's a slow week. And I go, why? Oh, we only got one job or, 2 jobs or whatever it is. And go, well, why? Oh, because of this. And I go, well, you knew it was your birthday. You knew Christmas was coming. So, and I give them that hard conversation of like, well, the only person you have to blame the person in the mirror. You knew there was not enough work, or you should have scheduled more work. Prime example, this would be for us actually. We started a second painting crew, and they were great, and they're moving along, and then one person had to reschedule. So we have 2 options. We can call somebody down the line in the schedule, or what you call a backlog, and go, hey, we got a position open. Or I call my sales team and go, hey, we've got a position open this week at the end of the week. Sell it. So they go, done. Literally 4 hours later, hey, sold that spot, you're done. Now I don't got to worry about nothing, because I didn't really want to force somebody that was already scheduled to bring it in early. I'd rather use it as a tool to close a sale. So we came in, dropped the price a couple bucks for that person to entice them to get closed that week, filled the spot, and now we're moving along. So I agree with you 100%. You got to know your numbers.
If you didn't have your eyes on those numbers,
correct.
If you're out there, let's say, working on the job site the whole time, and you're not keeping an eye on that, the chances of that spot being filled were probably going to be next to nothing, right?
If we didn't keep an eye on it, we didn't have that data coming in daily on it, it would have just sat empty. It would have had, 3 guys sitting around, with paintbrushes in their hands and nothing to paint. And so you're absolutely right. That stuff is so key. And that's like we decided, like I said, this past Monday, like we want that number every day. It happened to work out for us. Last week I found this information out. So I spent the weekend looking at it and going, okay, here's what we got. Here's how many sales calls we have, before Thursday. I think we had, 7 for Tuesday or something. It's actually yesterday. First job, I get a call from Kristen. Okay, boom, booked. What else do you want me to fill? She's a machine. She doesn't care. You put 20 on her schedule, she'll go do 20 bids. She don't care. No shit's given. She is a machine. So she's like, what else do you want me to fill? And I'm just like, we're good for right now. We're good. So, and we're good because all that data comes through and we have to have that now. So I agree with you 100%. And those 2 books, those 3 books really put you in a position of knowing. They really set you up for the win as opposed to the, like I said, I'm hard-headed, man. I learned the absolute hard way. I've spent ridiculous amounts of money being a fool learning the hard way. And when you take the lesson, oh, wow, look at this. Oh, look at this. I saved myself a bunch of money. I saved myself guys anguish that are complaining to me. Hey, I didn't get my 40 hours. Like, hey, boss, where are you at? Like, what's going on? Why don't we have enough work? All that went out the window because I got the lesson for free.
Hey, contractors, are you ready to go deeper, or rather higher? Are you ready to up your leadership game, up your people skills, up your systems so that you can get more time, money, and freedom from your business? That way you can live your life with purpose beyond just running your business. Escape contractor prison and enter Contractor Freedom. I want to invite you to register. Space is limited for the upcoming Contractor Freedom Summit right here, held in Dallas, Texas, October 26th, 27th, and 28th. Just go to contractorfreedom.live. That's contractorfreedom.live. And the registration link is right there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Again, right there at contractorfreedom.live is all the links to our social media profiles. So I look forward to seeing you online and at the summit right here in Dallas. It will be transformational. I promise. Boom. Exactly. Well, hey, let's talk about something else here. You, a while back, added on gutters, right? How long has that been?
We're going into well, officially, let me think about this. We're a little over 2 years officially. Yeah.
So you had a, if I recall, your first 12 months was pretty good right off the bat, right?
Our first what?
Your first 12 months?
So yeah, all honesty, so Nevada is a little different than a lot of other states. Nevada is like you have to give up your firstborn to get another license. Since we already had 2 licenses, this one was a little easier to get. So officially, we're over 2 years. Last June was our second year in official business, and then we did a little work that we didn't keep track of just to kind of keep things kind of trickling through. But then we officially got the gutter license January 2nd. And so we went full force. And this is another example of having your KPIs and knowing everything. You know just as well as I do, when you add something else, you have to do a lot of work to make sure you're successful. And we thought we did a lot of work. For the first 90 days, that first quarter, we didn't do enough work. I knew it. Marketing knew it. My partner knew it. We knew we didn't do enough work. That was our fault. So first 90 days, we're just hemorrhaging money. So we made some, I don't want to say fast decisions, we made some very calculated decisions. And then the following 90 days, that first 30 was a little rough, and then boom, the recipe to the cake was found, which we should have done beforehand. We should have done that the year before. And that way we would have been ready. But again, I'm a hard-headed person, and I have this ability to do things the hard way. I like to learn the hard lesson. So what I did was learn the hard lesson on that. But that first 6 months, we came out ahead. We learned the lesson hard, but we learned it fast, and we came out ahead. And then I think for the end of the year, that first year, we did just a touch under $1 million.
Wow,
so you got to remember,
great.
we didn't do anything. Yeah, we didn't do anything in Q1. Half of Q2 was nothing. And then once we figured it out, after that first 45, 50 days, it came in big. And then we ended up doing, for the first 6 months was comical. Quarter 3, we did more in Q3 than we did in the first 2 quarters. And then we finished out the year strong and just around 900,000 for the last year. This year we're on track. I think we're going to do just a little over 1.2. Again, since I'm not at home, I don't have my numbers on me. If I was in my office, I could tell you exactly where we were at.
We know a lot of guys ask me, Jason, how do I add on gutters? Should I add gutters? And we're actually going to walk through that a little more in detail at the upcoming summit. But when you did it, when I did it to fill, I added gutters for 2 reasons. One, gutters was blocking my exterior paint sales too often. And I was having to wait on the client to find someone else. It was a headache on the client. So I'm like, I'm just going to learn this. So I already had demand. I didn't have to generate demand to get gutters. So I already had some demand. Was that similar in your case?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say 80% of the houses we go to either need gutter repair or they need gutters just in general. Like I told you before, we kind of trickled in that first 6 months to end the year out, and then we were officially got our license January 2nd. Well, that was in the middle of winter, so we didn't have the tools yet to understand how we wanted to market it. Being winter, a lot of people think you can't hang gutters, but you can. It just has to be the right time of the day and so on and so on. So, yeah, we saw an opportunity. Actually, this is actually a quick funny story. We saw an opportunity 4 years ago, something like that. I can't remember now. We had asked everybody that we met at the PCA if they did gutters, and only one person did. And he wasn't very forthcoming with it, very basically, I bought a gutter machine and I hired somebody. That was the end of the story. And so I think 3 years ago, I go, hey, Jason, do you know anybody that does gutters? And you go, yeah. And I go, yeah, who? I'd love to get in contact. And you're like, me, I've been doing them for, a bazillion years. And I'm like, are you serious? The one person I know, that one of the guys I have the closest relationship, I never even thought to ask him. So it was foolish on my part. And then, once you're like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Why would you not do it? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to do it, but I just don't know how. So, should have asked you earlier.
I think there's some best practices when you're adding on a new service. I guess someone has to be the champion. and it's either got to be the business owner or you've got to hire someone or promote someone to do it. And if you're already, if you're a guy, let's just say that if you're in contractor prison, and if you try to add on gutters, it's probably going to be a disaster, either for the gutters or for the painting or for both. But
Agreed.
what I did is
Yeah,
I
no,
I
it'll
hired
sink both ships.
I hired a champion to champion it for me, and that's the way I would do it again. And we can again, we're going to be talking more about that at the summit. Matter of fact, if you guys and gals aren't signed up for the summit, you should sign up. It is going to be a wonderful event, and it's going to change your life and change your business. But so you did. I mean, you're doing basically, give or take, $1 million a year. What in gutters? Would you say compared to exterior painting, is it easier to deliver happiness on painting or gutters?
That's kind of a complex question. I like to say the gutter client is a lot easier to make happy. That's a really good question, Jason. I don't want to say one's better than the other, but here's what I will say about this. If you don't have your ducks in a row, the gutter client is a lot easier to deal with. If your ducks in a row, it's really the same. It's, six in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Yeah.
If you have your SOPs put into place and you have the right team in place and a culture that breeds the same thing and everyone's speaking the same language and everyone's swimming in the right direction and rowing in the right direction, either of those are the easiest thing. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever widget you want to put in. If you don't have those things in place, you will go, oh well, I want to do this because this is easier, or I want to do this because this is easier. Once you have everything in place, all that stuff is pretty easy. You're just inserting a widget.
So what about this, Will? Are gross profit margins better, similar, or worse than exterior painting?
This is not a straight out question, because you're going to meet guys that go, well, I make, 70% gross profit. I'm like, okay, John, but it's just you and your dog and your one kid that works with you, and you're the specialty painter. So, okay, that makes sense that you're going to make that kind of money. Sure. But on the whole, I would say for us, we make probably 10% more. I think gross profit is close to 72%, if I got the numbers right. I want to say it's around 72% gross profit for gutters, and painting is a little bit less than that. I think painting for us is probably around 55-57%.
Yeah, and so for us, gutters is although it's a smaller ticket, it's an easier promise to deliver, and it's also a better gross margin. Now, what about this one? When you added on gutters, what impact did it have on the sales of your exterior painting? Did it have a positive impact on exterior painting sales?
Absolutely. It was the easiest segue from one to the another. We have it set up where our sales team is different from gutters to painting, but since starting gutters, I know a few people that do both now, or do those two and a few other things since then. And some of them have one salesperson that does them all, or they have a sales force that can sell you everything. But for us, what we found out, it works well. And we might change it later on a date, but as of right now, we find that it works fine just for us to have a separate sales team. Because we have so many sales calls for each specific one, that we don't want somebody, while you're at the appointment, to add on gutters, and then we take another 30 to 40 minutes to explain and pitch the gutter division. So that's just for us. For other people, it could be completely different. So yes, we recommend gutters on every house. As soon as we get on a house that we see it has failing gutters with nails through them, the old nail style. As soon as we see that stuff, we're already going, hey, are the gutters failing? Because if we see nails through them, there's like a 90% chance that gutter's failing. It's been on there long enough. We can see in the corners, the miters, it's failing.
Bottom
we can see
fascia board.
the house is good. Correct. So we already know, and we don't pitch it at first. Hey, dude, are you having leaking gutters right there? Oh yeah. I got to have that looked at too. And then they go, okay, great. And then we talk about it some more, and later in the sales pitch, we go, just give you a heads up, we do have a gutter division as well. And as soon as they hear that, they go, oh, really? Oh, you do? Yeah. Would you like me to set you up with an estimate? And they go, yeah. And go, okay, boom, we shoot a quick text to the office, and then they call in 20 minutes and set them up for a gutter bid. So then in-house, we'll send somebody out. So if a painting bid is done, that person's gutter bid gets priority over everything else because we want that gutter bid done ASAP so we can send them both products at the same time, or as soon as close as together as possible.
Right.
That way they can make a decision right there. And, a lot of times we're probably more expensive on the painting, we're more expensive on the gutters than just about everybody in our town, but our product and our sales service, all this stuff adds up and gives them a product that we think it's worth the money that we sell it to them for. So with that being said, when we talk to people, they always, I'm sure you get this. Well, do I get a deal if I do both of them? Sure. Absolutely. If that's what closes you today, absolutely. I'll sell you gutters and I'll sell you a paint job at a discount. Get me a deposit check. We'll get you done.
What would you do differently if you launched gutters today based on what you've learned up until now?
What would I do differently? Well, the things I thought I did right, I actually ended up doing right. I was happy with myself. And the things I didn't know I was doing wrong, I would probably change that. I would have a better system for marketing the gutters as I did in the beginning. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than that. I depended a little too much on the sales team as opposed to, marketing it as its own product, which we did, but we should have just done a better job. We should have got a lay of the land a lot better. We should have had a better sales pitch. So these are things that we worked through with the help of people we know. So that's probably what I say we would do different. We would have came to the game a lot more prepared. We struggled through it. Like I said, I'm a hard-headed and I'm a hard learner. But man, it would have been nice to save myself $40,000, $50,000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and these are all things that I'll map out. And if you guys are going to come to the summit, I highly recommend it. I'll be there. Jason's going to be there. Some cool people are going to be there. And you're going to hear a story how I wasted a bunch of money doing it the wrong way. So it'll be a lot easier and cheaper for you to come hear me speak.
That's right.
Highly recommended. Learn my lesson for free because I already paid for it.
Exactly. Oh, yes. Well, one of the things, Will, that's, you and I have both paid the price of education, and maybe some stupidity, maybe the price of hard-headedness, whatever. But
ego.
Do you know what's more expensive than education?
No.
Ignorance.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how much it's costing you because you don't even know. And that's why you need to get connected with groups like the PCA and with Contractor Freedom. And so, I highly recommend you guys get out to the PCA Expo when its registration's open. I will be letting you guys know that. I'm a huge proponent and promoter of the PCA, but coming up soon, again, we've got the summit. We'd love to have you guys out. So, Will, have you ever felt stuck in your business? Like, I don't know what to do next. And, I'm capped out. I don't know what to do. And then what did you do to get out of that spot?
Have I ever felt like I didn't know what to do? I mean, I've had that conversation with myself time and time again. I think if anybody says no, first of all, I think they're lying to themselves. And then they're lying to the person that's asking that question. I think that's a fool's errand. It happens time and time again. It could be for the simplest thing, for example, we were training a guy, nice kid, could not pick it up. Just everything was great. Yes, sir. No, sir. Right away, sir. Just couldn't pick it up. And you ask yourself, you got to fire this kid, but he's so nice. Can I train him a little more? How much is it going to cost me? And it just ended up not working out. And I should have just made the right decision in the beginning. You get into positions of like, do I want to start another service? And then you start to do it. And then you get scared and you pull back. I don't know, man. Is this going to cost me too much money? Am I going to lose? Do I really know what I'm doing? These are questions that you ask yourself. I started painting and then I started doing cabinets. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Is there enough money in cabinets? Now I know yes. But then I was just painting anything. I didn't care if I was losing money or making money. I had no clue about any of it. Great example. I added coatings on. It was a sizable investment, to start it from scratch. It was probably, well, I don't want to sound, like a douche, but it was a lot. It was more than I thought I could handle. And then I ultimately made the decision to push through and go for it. And it ended up working well for us. After that hurdle, that questioning, that doubt, that position of being stuck of like, do I put more into it? Do I stop? Do I pull out? Fortunately, I pushed more into it and it ended up working out for us. But I can tell you that happens on a daily. Even when I started Gutters, I was like, is it really for us? Do I really need it? Do I really want to deal with it? Okay, let's go. And then, for almost 4 months, there's no money coming in. We were just bleeding money. Oh, shit. Did I make the right decision? I thought all this past knowledge got me past that point to where I thought I could put whatever widget I wanted in there and I was just going to crush it. But it's still a learning process. And I get stuck just about 4 or 5 times a year. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big. Sometimes it costs me nothing, sometimes it costs me thousands. So these are the things. And thankfully, I'm in a position where I have enough friends and mentors. When I do run across these problems, the solution is really just a phone call away. Hey, Jason, you got 15 minutes? Sure. What do you think of this? Well, some of my friends go, that's dog shit, Will. Why the hell would you think of that? What are you thinking? And then I call Jason. He's like, well, I wouldn't do it that way. Maybe try this. Or I call some other people and go, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I'll get one response as opposed to another response. So I'm with you. The PCA has given me those tools and that ability to phone call the problem away. I mean, it really is that easy. I've got a problem I don't know how to solve. Your bravado, your ego, your ignorance will keep you in a position where you're stuck. And then you're like, oh, wait, well, why don't I just call this person? They probably have already had that problem. Hey, what do you think of this? Oh, that's how you got through it. I didn't think of that. Thank you. And then you move on.
Boom. Exactly. That lifeline. Some it's been said that your network is your net worth. And what maybe we could also say is when you have a network of people that you can call out to help you troubleshoot different problems, draw on their wisdom, it can save you money, it can save you time, it can save you headache, frustration, and it's so valuable. And I was one of those guys, I just kept my blinders on for so many years and kept my nose to the grindstone. And hey, I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, had some good success, but if I was doing it over again, I would be connected. I would be connected like I am now.
Easily. The phone call is a lot cheaper than learning the hard lesson.
That's right.
Oh, definitely.
Wow, Will, man, I tell you what, this is, I think this has been very, very valuable conversation. I think contractors need to hear this. Will, how could if someone wants to reach out to you and ask you a question or two, how could they connect with you?
So I would say probably text message, email. You could call, but I don't answer the phone call too much these days just because I got a lot going on. It's easier for me to leave a text message unread until I have time to get to it. A phone call is hit or miss with me at best. I think you're probably the same with that as well.
Well, we're sending this out to the world. Do you want to give your cell phone number for a text message?
Yeah, absolutely. 775-544-6525. People are more than welcome to text me. People can even call too, Email is always good too. will@battlebornpainting.com. That's an easy one to get to me, Matt. Email or text.
Nice.
Those are great. And if you want to call me, if I answer, then you got me. And if I don't take it personal. I think more than anything, this not team, but this network of people that you can lean on is always going to save you money, time, headache. It's going to save your relationship. It's going to save your best employee from quitting, hanging up, and running out. Because as owners, and I'm guilty. I'm sure you are at one point or another time, and a lot of people. Your own ego has probably cost you good talent because you couldn't see past it. You couldn't see past your ignorance, your bravado, your own self, image of how you think things should be done. And it's probably cost me employees. I know it has, good employees from time to time. And, you go, well, why that person quit? And, if you had a network or a team of people you could call, a text message you could send out, man, that sure would help out.
Indeed. Well, contractor friends, I want to encourage you, get connected. Feel free to reach out to Will. Of course, I think he's also on Facebook. Matter of fact, he's in the Contractor Freedom group on Facebook. You guys can reach out to him there. I want to encourage you guys to connect up there as well. Will, I appreciate you being on today, taking time out of your leisure time there south of the border. Thank you so much, man. I feel honored. And man, I look forward to seeing you at the summit in October.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun time. I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned there. One sign off I want to say is, like, if anybody's watching this and you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, this would be a good time to come out. Jason's a great speaker. He's got a lineup there that'll blow your mind. If anything, you come to see me for the comic relief, that'll be worth the money alone. But if you come to learn something, I'll be talking about all the lessons I paid for. That way you don't have to pay for it. I mean, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars being a fool. So if you want to save yourself time, money, heartache, come listen to what I have to say. The worst thing that happens is you save yourself a couple bucks.
That's right. Good words. Good words. Thanks, Will. Contractors, we'll see you guys soon. Hey, contractors, I want to invite you to connect. If you want to get connected with the Contractor Freedom community, simply point your browser to contractorfreedom.live. That's contractorfreedom.live. On there, you'll find the link to our Facebook private group, our page, our newsletter. You'll find a link to our podcast. You'll also find a link to register for the upcoming first annual Contractor Freedom Summit right here in Dallas, Texas. So I just want to invite you to come on over, join the community. I look forward to getting to know you more. Thanks for listening in today.